Real quick video, Israel. Getting right into it. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Rakah Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, elder bishops, great millstone. Most salutation to the brothers, shit your word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect, most high will, to the hopeful extended elect, multitude, shalom, blessings. And getting right into it, man. I looked up, I said, who did the Jews consist of? I asked Google, and see, when they mention the Jew and Gentile thing, they try to act like the Gentiles are talking about all the nations. And I asked, who did the Jews consist of? Jews historically consist of the descendants of the ancient Israelites, primarily, like we say, primarily from the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, along with the members of priestly tribe of Levi, who formed the kingdom of Judah in the southern Levant. They evolved from the Canaanite peoples and merged with the other Levant tribes, establishing a distinct ethno-religious identity. I don't know what they're talking about right there. The southern kingdom, Judah, following the split of the early Israelite monarchy, the term Jew, they say Yahudi. That comes from Yahwadah. They have a bastard way of saying it, saying Yehudi. Small hats, but it's Yahwadah, which means praise the Most High, praise Yahweh, or the water Yahweh. Originally referred specifically to the inhabitants of the southern kingdom of Judah, core tribes. The kingdom was comprised mostly of the tribes of Judah and Benjamin, and the tribe of Levi, because the Levites was Most High's portion. The Levites' priestly class were also part of this kingdom and were not given a specific land inheritance, serving in the temple instead. Yeah, they were the Most High portion. So, but that's that sect, Judah, Benjamin, Levi. Now you have the other Israelites, which are Israelites of the northern kingdom, which, you know, is another. Sometimes is spoken in the terms of another kingdom. That's why it talks about 2 Kings 17. You know, Israel went off, which is the northern kingdom, and then Judah, treacherous sister, went off also, and they were two kingdoms, and they're gonna become one. Most High is gonna make them one kingdom again. That's what the stick is about, with all the tribes on there. So, you know, I don't know what that, you know, like Apostle Hart said, they didn't have Ezekiel. He wasn't carrying around the 12 tribe sign, because it was, you know, that was a later prophecy that would happen. So, you know, but if he did, speaking as a man, he probably would have only had, well, you know, concerning the tribe, those three tribes being pretty much the core of the southern kingdom, you know, being from the Jew sect, the Jews would probably only have those three tribes on there after the split, after even in Yahushai's time, because they was talking about, nah, they heathens. So, you know, it's almost like you knowing the truth, and you knowing about the prophecy, and you asking them, well, where are the other tribes at? You know, where's Ephraim at? Where's Manasseh? And they was like, no, well, you know, we the Most High's portion. They went off, because they did. They went off first. You could find that. Let me get that right quick, because I didn't want to make this too long. But how can I say it? Let me just go to 2 Kings 17. It's in there somewhere. See, there you go. 2 Kings 17 and 18. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only. And Judah kept not the commandments of the Lord their power, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And the Lord rejected all the seed of Israel. So how can, if you say this is true and it remains this today, then how can you even be an inward Jew when he casted all his people out, rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them and delivered them into the hand of the spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight? For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. The Jeroboam drave Israel from following the Lord and made them sin, great sin. So even under Solomon, you had Jeroboam and Rehoboam. So the same fashions today. And you have the Israelite foreigners, which are not mixed. They're not, tarnished or corrupted of the bloodline, even, because they come from their fathers. So, even when it said go to the Jew first, well, yeah, the Jew, because they have the law and they are the head tribe, and you have a Jew sect along with Benjamin and Levi. So Levite, they hold the oracles of God, the principles, they were a portion of Most High. So, even collectively, Judah being the head and Levi being portion of Most High, and Benjamin being the right son of the Most High, and being a part of that southern kingdom body, it was considered, powerful and upstanding. Like it said, Judah, there was only Judah left, and then they didn't even keep the commandments. So even through Moses, we understand in the story of Moses, the priests went off, and the kings went off. King David and King Solomon even being an example. So all Israel was rejected of Israel, because we're a whole as Israelites. But we held different prospective offices, and like even today still, and Judah is the head tribe. Yahweh Shai came out of the tribe of Judah. So it even caused confusion and distinction between the Jews themselves and Yahweh Shai, because he was a Jew himself, and they was like, well, you're supposed to follow the laws of Moses. What are you doing? Like you're not in Yahweh Shai kind of told him, well, you're not following the laws of Moses. Because he even used an example of saying, when they asked him, about divorce, he said, well, it wasn't so. Moses, that was a law that came into play because the hardness of your hearts. For, in the beginning, Most High made male and female. So it was a lot of things Yahweh Shai was trying to expressing in the spirit that they didn't understand even before, because he said, I am before Abraham. He said, I am beginning and end. So he was really before Moses. He was Adam. So a lot of things before the time it was written on the commandments was kind of like expressed through just doing and naturally doing things. That's why it says in the scripture, there's a natural Jew and there's a spiritual, but they one and the same. It's just something when the natural don't understand the spirit, then he becomes separated from the spirit, and he started doing the customs of a natural carnal man. So it separates him from the spirit to where he's looked at like a son of God, but he is, because he's an Israelite. But in the fashion of just like our people now, the 2/3, they're children of the Most High, but they live as a 2/3, so they're gonna have to reap what they do as 2/3, but they're still Israelites. That doesn't never, negate them from being. So that's kind of is that's what went on and what's going on. Those two kingdoms starting to really understand each other, and those men that were once high seated in those that southern core tribe unison with Judah, Benjamin, Levi, they understanding like, oh, well, okay, so our people been separated. Some of our people have been born outside Jerusalem. That doesn't make them not Israelites. That doesn't make them cast it out. Because, when you, and I got to explain this, but when you, let's say you, the Israelite, the northern kingdom kicked out, and then the southern kingdom, and then y'all both out on this outside, out the house of the house of the Most High, and then you be like, damn, the southern kingdom, like, damn, we fell too. We got, damn, so we can't really talk about the northern kingdom like that, because we're falling too. We got to get ourselves shit right too. So then you get into a state of where you starting to understand the spirit of things and the prophecy of things, how them tribes got to help each other out, and they got to form back into one kingdom because they were divided. So that's what that Jew and Gentile thing is about. Gentile coming back into the fold of the original sect but now it's established on spiritual terms and spiritual way. The house of David is spiritual now. They used to really build temples back then and dwell in temples. And Most High said, even going back, it says he hadn't dwelt in temples, but in small tents. So even today, like small sanctuaries, we don't have a big ass mega church where we saying, all the black and brown, so-called black and brown people are to come here, and we're gonna have Passover, and this is Jerusalem. This is a symbol of Jerusalem. Nah, that's why a lot of people don't come into the truth, because they looking for a big ass church. They're looking for a building that symbolizes somewhat to a kingdom, or likened to how we all supposed to meet, and like, oh yeah, this is the true family gathering. This is the true, we are Israelites. Nah, you're not gonna see no banner. You're not gonna see, what you gonna see? Like the sign of Jonas, prophesying, men prophesying, the 12 tribe sign. You're gonna be curious and ask about who are these people on the sign. So, our people waiting for a miraculous thing to fall out the sky and some floating, nah, you gonna get just prophets prophesying about getting right and getting in and doing the work, and and coming back together as those kingdoms that were split. So they didn't understand that with Jew and Gentile. They didn't understand that, hey, Most High does care for his people, even though they live as heathens. He called them from that darkness and from those heathenistic ways to follow him. He's still dealing with those people. He still loves those people. He still show mercy, to those people, but he does it in a constructive way to, for them to understand that there's a narrow door and it's a narrow way, and that he constructed and set up certain men to go that way that they got to fall in line with. It can't just be no random just knocking on people's door and learning the truth. No, it's specific certain men that are called to do so that they have to fall in line with. But anyway, so, and you can learn that from the Apocrypha too. It says it was a broad way then, but now it's a narrow, where it's fire on one side, water on the other side. One man can enter into at a time. So, being all those factors, You know, they have to understand you can't just be a Jew and say you're a Jew and just don't do what a Jew should do, and then try to teach your people and say, well, and then look at the other people and say, nah, you ain't nobody. Well, you got to humble yourself and be like, well, damn, I'm not too, our righteousness is filthy rags. So we got to understand our people that live as heathens, understand our people. And I'm not saying understand and giving them a pass, but you know how they used to judge. They used to put people in prison, whip people, and put them to death. Paul even talked about that. So I'm talking about on that level. I'm not talking about, giving our people a pass to eat swine and commit adultery and idolatry. Hell no. That's against the law. You shouldn't be doing that. What I'm talking about is that when you see our people right away and they eating swine and they don't know the detrimental judgment and that they living like a heathen, you don't judge them right away to put them in prison or slay them. Like if you seen a home and they was eating swine in there, you be like, let me go get a sword, and you just bust in the door and slice heads off, and then the last person is like, I didn't even know, man. I didn't know we couldn't eat. I was taught that we could. And so you just killed like half of those people, all those people in the house, and they didn't even know either. So you gotta bust in the door, be like, hey, y'all know y'all ain't supposed to eat swine, right? No, we didn't know that. Okay, well put down your swine, throw it away. It's against the Most High. But what does that say in the scripture? You show them in the scriptures, and then if somebody still rebel and say, I don't care, man, I'm eating swine, you cut their head off. But it's spiritual today. But that would have been actually a thing back then where, Moses, when he saw the Egyptian flogging his brother, I think they call it flogging, he killed the Egyptian. And they got scared and like, damn, you gonna kill us too? But that's how quick they was judging people back then. Like, they didn't waste no time, man. So now you have to judge righteously and figure what the matter is, that what a man is actually thinking in his mind. David said, try the reins of his heart, his mind. So you got to go through the levels of a man's mind and understanding like, damn, you didn't really know. Okay, y'all do need to get taught. And y'all are sincere about your questions. Okay, let's start there. And then you rehabilitate Israel in that spirit of truth, in that spirit of real understanding, instead of the old way of how you thought to just destroy if they don't do. Well, sometimes they don't do because of a certain reason. They don't know, or they've been taught, or they just might be like, I'm fucked. I can't go to the Passover. I'm not no longer in Israel no more. But we ain't holding hands, but we have to have that understanding, man, before they thrown out. And it says that in the scriptures, if he don't hear you in the church and it has an order of that, count him as a heathen. Cast him out as a heathen. It even says that in the. So what are heathens? The heathens are the other nations. Why would he be cast out a heathen and heathens can make it? No, because heathens can't make it. Of these other nations, they can't make it. They're considered the heathens. Our people do heathenistic things, but they're not heathens. They're the children of God. It's children of God, children of man, and children of the wicked. We're not children of the wicked, man. And these other nations represent children of men, but we kind of, we are of mankind on the earth. So we have to suffer certain things. Like I said, you're gods, but you should die like men. Like the prince. So we have to understand those dynamics. But when we get immortal power, we ain't gonna die no more. So we got to understand these things before we get that immortal power. We got to understand righteousness, because righteousness is immortal. So Most High wants us to get that right. You can't judge your brother and judge a plank in his eye, and you got a plank in your eye, and you be like, well, you're not so good. You a little shabby yourself around the edges. You be like, damn. So we all under this banner of understanding each other and getting out of here. on the, by the spirit of Yahweh Yahushai. So anyway, shalom.